Good morning, everybody. I wanted to make a video this morning because I have gotten so many requests for more details on my two little ones' sleep schedule. So I will be sharing that with you today. I'm going to share with you some of the habits that we have and some of the things that I did differently for my second and third child versus my first. So I'm going to first start and tell you about our first, which is my son Carter. And that was our first go around with parenting. And I don't want to say we were clueless, but we were just kind of winging it. We had obviously never been parents before. So some of the things that I feel like I did differently with my son that I chose to not do with the other two. The first is we do not co-sleep with the other two. With Carter, we used to put him to bed, and at some point throughout the night, and this started like when he was around 8 or 9 months, he would wake up, and instead of putting him back to bed, I used to be teaching full time, so I was very tired, obviously, and I just wanted to go to sleep. So instead of putting him back to bed in his crib, I would bring him into my bed and I would let him snuggle, and honestly, I loved it, and I don't regret that. And Carter is my best snuggler because of that. But we co-slept with Carter from him being about 9 months to probably the summer before kindergarten, where he would just come into our bed at some point in the night. And again, every night we still put him to bed in his bed, but he was always coming to bed in ours. So that's something that we did differently between Carter and the girls. So the girls do not co-sleep. Probably I can tell you on one hand how many times Grace has ever slept in our bed, and she's almost 3. Another thing that I did differently with Carter that I didn't do with the girls is when he was very small. So in that first year, when he would wake up in the middle of the night to get a bottle, I would change him. And I had this veteran mom. She was my neighbor. I love her dearly. She's one of my best friends. And she had more kids. And she was like, don't change him unless he's got a dirty diaper. Like, just leave it be. By you changing him, you're waking him up more. And because it would take forever when we'd get up to have a bottle, we'd change him, like it was like he thought he was up for the day. And so I was like, oh, I feel bad. Like my mom heart doesn't, I feel like I should be changing them. And I don't now, unless now Sadie is starting to really have heavy diapers. So if she gets up during the night, I do change her just because she is urinating more. But for the first year, I didn't. I really didn't. Unless I could smell that it was a poop diaper, I didn't change them because it helped to keep them sleeping longer. So anyway, those are things that I did with Carter that I don't do with the girls. So I don't co-sleep. I don't really change them in the middle of the night unless there's an accident or unless they have a dirty diaper. What else do I do differently? So let's talk more, and let's go now into the girls' routine. Let's talk about that because that is key. And this is the way that I was with all 3 of my kids. Is I am adamant about routines. I do not go anywhere during nap time. There's some parents who are like, oh, they can sleep in the car or the stroller or the park. No, like my world revolves around nap times and bedtimes, and please don't interfere with them. So I am very strict to our schedule. Nap time for all 3 of my kids was always, once they hit 1, that window of naps was always from about 12 or 12:30 until almost 3 o'clock. And my kids really do nap that long, and I do naps. I know a lot of people say like, oh, once they're 2 or 3, you can start to ease away from naps. Everybody's different. I do not stop doing naps until they're almost like 4 or 5. When Carter got to be a little bit older, like 4-ish, those naps turned more into just quiet time in his room, where he could read books. He could choose to take a nap. Like it was his choice, but he had to stay in his room and he had to be quiet. I find that we all need that time. Like I needed that time as a mom to kind of recharge and get ready for the second half of the day. And they need that time. They need space to just, recover so that they can get through to bedtime because they are often tired. Even your 4 and 5-year-olds, they're worn out after a hard morning of playing. So anyways, I stick to routines with nap time and with bedtime. I have found that tired kids make terrible sleepers. I'll say it again. Tired kids make terrible sleepers. Tired kids make terrible sleepers. If my kiddos, like right now, if I were to let Grace, and I do occasionally, and I know I said I don't, but like every once in a while, like if we have company and, it's someone they haven't seen, I will let them skip a nap. Not Sadie, but Grace, because she's almost 3. And I will tell you that it is the longest day ever. and she is miserable, and she actually struggles to go to bed that night too. You would think the opposite because she's would be really tired, but they just go into like this zombie mode, and it's terrible. So anyways, I don't let my kids get tired. I protect their sleep time. So again, so every day once they get up for the day, and my kids get up typically on average, they get up between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. When Sadie was a little bit younger, it was more like 6:30. Same for Grace. But now that they're getting, beyond one, is now when we're seeing they're starting to get into their own sleep patterns. So anyways, so the kids get up, they go for the morning, as long as they're not at daycare. Daycare has different rules and times, but it's also similar. And then they take their nap from 12 to 12. Like Grace goes down, Sadie goes down at 12. She's one. She goes down at 12. That gives me time. So we do lunch. I put Grace or Sadie down. Then I let Grace have a show. So Grace will watch a show on the couch while I put Sadie down, and then I come down and then I pick up Grace, take her up. For nap time, I don't do anything special. I just put Grace in her crib. I give her baby doll, her blanket. Usually I'll give her like a cup, and that's it. Like she goes in her crib and she soothes herself to sleep. Occasionally she'll stay up and like jump around in her crib and play and all these things. That's another thing. My daughter's almost 3 and she's still in a crib. She's very petite, so she does not get out of the crib yet. I don't take my kids out of cribs until they can get themselves out of cribs, because mine tend to do really well. We tried to rush it with Carter when he was about, I would say he was 18 months, maybe 2. It was a big mistake, and I tried to do his crib converted to a toddler bed. And I tried to convert him early, and it was a nightmare. He didn't want to go to sleep. He wanted to play. I couldn't keep him in the bed. So I really do recommend prolonging time in the crib if you can. Some of you can't because you have climbers on your hands, and it is what it is, and they climb out of bed. So you do need to keep them safe. But I would say if your kid is not climbing, don't take them out of the crib. So anyways, back to what I was saying. So for nap time, Sadie goes down, and she does get a bottle. So I give her a bottle, and sometimes she falls asleep, sometimes she doesn't. So if she doesn't fall asleep, I don't sit there. I know with Carter, and that's another thing. With Carter, I used to rock him, pat his bottom, sway him. I remember we used to do the bounce. Like Daddy would hold you or I would hold you if you weren't sleeping, and we would like bounce like a kangaroo in his room and pat his bum and shh and do all these things to put him to sleep, rather than just saying, okay, he's had a bottle, he's clean, he's fed, he's changed, he's ready, and just lay him down. We didn't do that with you. Okay, can you stop doing that, please? I'm trying to make a video. Thank you. Like, go over there. Thank you. But anyways, so those are things that were different. So he was really like pacified. And so what that means is that he could not go to sleep on his own. And that led to, when he was in a big boy bed, we used to every night, and I loved it because it was bonding time, but every single night we would have to, after we would read, we would cuddle him, and that cuddling in turn turned into us. We would lay there, we would play with his hair, we'd do whatever, we would pacify him until he fell asleep. Guess what happens when you lay with your kid in their bed until they fall asleep? Guess what you do? You fall asleep too. Yes. And then you don't have much of an evening. And so again, first time parents, we didn't know otherwise. He was the only child. It was super cute. We were hooked. So anyways, those are things that we were like, you know what? I don't actually want to spend, I don't want to spend my whole night in bed pacifying a child. So we tried, and we said, okay, how do we do this so that we can just lay a child down while they're not sleeping yet? And so at first, I'm going to be very honest with you, at first, like the first week or so, I know that some of you are super like anti-cry it out. You're going to probably have to do a tiny bit of crying it out. I don't have the tolerance for much crying it out. 10 minutes is like my max. So at first, you do lay them down, and they probably will cry for a couple minutes because they're like, hey, wait, I want to be rocked, or I want to be held, because why wouldn't they? You're their mom or you're their dad. But they will self-soothe. They will suck their thumb. If they have a binky, they'll take their binky. If they're old enough to have a little like blankie, like Grace has like a little square that she loves. She calls it her blue danky. But when you give them something little to soothe, often they'll self-soothe themselves. We keep the rooms quiet for Sadie, so she doesn't have a sound machine. Grace has hers has like a I don't want to call it a sound machine, but it's loud. Like it's loud, so she can't hear other things. We keep the rooms dark. We're not a nightlight family. I know some of you like to have bright night lights in the room. We're not a nightlight family. The kids sleep in the dark, and all three of the kids sleep with their doors shut for safety for fires. So they're not they go to bed. Good night. We shut the door. We love you. What does the routine look like? So please stop it. So
I want to sit in your lap.
You're not sitting in my lap. No. So for the girls, so we do dinner at 6:30. So dinner's at 6:30. We take them up and we do bath time. So both of them do a bath together. That'll change when they get a little bit older, but they do a bath together. After they do a bath, we kind of divide and conquer. One of us puts Sadie down, and that's at about 6:45. It's about 6:45. I don't want to ask you again. I need you to please go over there. Okay, thank you. But anyways, so she gets her bottle. After she gets her bottle, she will either fall asleep or she won't. And either way, she's still going in the crib. And lately, now that she's older, she's 1, we're starting to try to get her off of the bottle. So we're transitioning away from that. So what will happen then when there's no bottle involved is that we will do the bath time. After we do bath time, we will read stories together. So I usually do like 10 minutes of story time when they're that little. So we'll do stories, we'll cuddle, and then I will lay her down and she will put herself to sleep. With Grace, so Grace is more like 7:30 at this point. She is 2, or she'll be 3. So she's 2, but she's almost 3. So at this point, lately, she's getting to be more of a 7:30 bedtime. For a while, she's been a 7 o'clock bedtime for the last year. So the year of her being 2, bedtime was 7. Now that she's closer to 3, I'm working more towards 7:30. I won't move it much from there to almost age 5. So she will stay sleeping at 7:30 for a long time still. Just because she needs her sleep. They all do. And my husband and I really like having our evenings too. So with Grace, same routine. Bath, we'll do stories. I do more stories with her. I try to do about 20 minutes of reading. I'll sing to her if she wants. Sometimes she wants to be sung to. And honestly, I hold her for just a bit. I snuggle her, I tell her I love her, we say our prayers, and then typically she says, okay, I'm ready to get in my crib. And I know that amazes a lot of people. Like when I tell my friends that, or family members maybe are over to put them to bed, they're like, she just wanted in her crib. I'm like, yeah, because that's her routine and that's what she knows. And she likes it. So I created that. I didn't, that doesn't just happen on its own. That happens by consistency. That happens by being consistent on the bedtime, on the rules, on the, just doing the same thing every night so that that's the norm to them. Sometimes lately, in the last 6 weeks, she'll say, I want to sleep in your bed. Mommy, I want to sleep in your bed. And like my mom heart has caved like 2 times, and it was a mess. She didn't go to sleep. It was after 9 and she was still up and talking and wiggling all around, and she just didn't go to bed because it was fun to her and she wanted to visit with mom. So again, that's it. That's my routine. We're consistent. They sleep. I will lastly end with this as far as sleeping through the night. So when Grace was a little one, she was breastfed until she was 18 months. So Grace I would put her down at that same time that I told you about, but then almost every night she would get up around midnight. I would feed her. Again, I didn't bring her in my room. That was another thing with nursing. I didn't bring her in my room. I would sit in the chair in her room. So I know a lot of you like to nurse in bed. I used to do that with Carter. I did not do that with Grace. I had a rocking chair in her room. That is where I nursed her. I put her right back into bed after that. So that was a little bit different. So she would get up at midnight. Sometimes she would also get up like around 3, and then for the day, like around 6:30 or 7. Sadie was bottle fed, similar thing. she would get up around midnight, have a bottle, 11 or 12, have a bottle, but then Sadie would continue to sleep throughout the night until about 6:30, and then she would be up for the day. That was like in the first year. Now, both the girls, when I put them down, Sadie's like, I would say 85% of the time. When I put them down, that's it. They're down for the night, and then they wake up in the morning, and we start our day. So that's what it looks like. That's my you can say that if you want.
Okay. So all me, Gracie, and Sadie, the past 5 days, we've been sleeping into they've been sleeping until 7. I've been sleeping until 8 or 9.
Yeah. It's crazy, huh? So, anyways, I don't have kids that sleep in, and I joke that I wish I did. I have kids that sleep through the night, which I get is a blessing, but for the most part, they start their day at the same time every day. So the idea of some of those parents are like, oh, my kids sleep till 9 or 10. I'm like, really? But sometimes I question what time did they go to bed to be able to do that. Anyways, I prefer having our evenings off. We like having, yeah, okay, no more, okay? No, we just let me wrap this up. Okay, we've talked enough. Anyways, that's the routine. I hope it was helpful. If you have questions about what I do or how I do it, feel free to send a message. But please know this: every family is different. Every child is different. Even the way that you parent one versus number 3 will look different, and all of it is okay. It's your decision. It's your child, and if you feel confident in what you're doing, then that's the right thing to do. So, good luck. I hope that you can get in a routine so that you can get some more sleep. Have a good day. Thanks for watching.